G'day and welcome back to Build Some, and today's video is going to be on the preparation required to install weatherboard on a building. And this is our little building here, and as you can see I've already got the windows and the door jambs installed, and I've also put in some preparatory noggins because on this side of the building, the simulation, it's simulated that we'd actually have another roof coming in, and the new roof would butt in to this building up to this height, and then from here on up we'd have weatherboards. So that's a little bit of a difference on this side. So we've nogged the line we're going to start the weatherboards, so we've got something to put our flashing on and finish it off. So all our noggins are in, all our windows and everything else we need are in, so we're ready to start the process. So the first thing I would do, and it's not necessary nowadays, but I would always put in building wrap or sarking or whatever you want to call it in your local area, just to provide a moisture barrier behind my weatherboard. Okay, so I definitely would go with the sarking, just the blue paper. And as I said, it's not necessary, but it's always a good precaution, because if you get moisture behind your weatherboard, condensation or whatever, it can then just run down the outside of the paper and out of the building. It also, when you cut it around your windows, if you cut it a bit bigger than it needs to be, you can also help to do what we're going to do next, which is the flashing. So regardless, well, the code in Australia actually says that if you've got isolation, then you don't need flashing. So this next step, if you isolate, you don't need to do flashing, but personally I always do both anyways, just for precaution. You know, for the price of a roll of this polyethylene plastic flashing, you know, it's going to save you a lot of money if you ever get a callback on the cladding. So I always put the flashing on as well. So you flash down your corners, flash around your window, all the way around. So everywhere you're going to cut and join your weatherboard, you should have flashing underneath it. And this flashing needs to be layered so that when the water, if water was to get onto this flashing, it would then run onto this one down the side of the window, and then that would run onto this one, and then run out of the next weatherboard that's below it. So you don't want to have them lapped so that if it got onto here, it ran in behind this one. So you have to layer them so this one's on top, and this one runs down and runs over the top of this one, and that one would be set up so it runs out of your weatherboards. I've also flashed down this corner, and you can see I've got the same setup on my doors. So because I'm going to cut my weatherboards down the side of the doors, I've got flashing down there, so just in case water gets in behind that join, then it's not going to affect my frame. So you need to flash everything as well. Okay, so we'll go back over here. So the next step then is we need to start the weatherboards, and there's two ways of doing it. Before we get to that, the next step is to install your stops on both ends. So this one just happens to be timber, although you can have seen aluminium ones lately, just on a brand new job down the road. So what that does, it just gives you somewhere to butt your weatherboards into. Okay, it's recessed around the corner, or you could just use 2 square pieces of timber to make it up. Doesn't look real good, but it's possible. So they provide a stop for the weatherboards on both ends. Okay. Another method of starting your weatherboard is to use what they call a plinth board. So this is actually a milled piece of timber that has a recess in the top, and that starts your first board at the correct angle. If you nailed your first board on the wall, it wouldn't look right because it would be flat to the wall, and everything else is going to be kicked where it overlaps. So this plinth board provides you that kicker to start with, and it also just reinforces the bottom of the weatherboards. Weatherboards are very susceptible to damage along the bottom if they get kicked or hit with a ball or whatever. So putting a plinth board in is not a bad idea. However, I haven't seen it done. It's not very common practice. The more common way to do it, there's your boards in place then. The more common way to do it is just to cut a strip off your weatherboards, and the actual top board you're going to have to run a strip off anyway, which is equal to your lap of your sheets. So you can nail that along the bottom, and that'll provide the kicker for your first board, so that they all sit at the same angle. The first one doesn't sit flat against the wall. So put your kicker in, and then you can install the rest of your boards. And you'll notice if we go down here that with that kicker, all the boards are sitting at the same angle. This one's not flat against the wall. Around the corner here where we had our roof that's going to butt in, got a flashing running down the line of the roof. This will eventually get folded up over the roof to provide a flashing down there. So our boards get put in as such. Once again, you would need a very small piece of timber under this corner to provide a kicker for that, so that they all sit at the same angle and they're cut at the line of the roof. Now with all these boards, when you come into these, when you butt into the stop or where you butt into the window, again, not a bad idea for a small cost just to run a bead of silicone in there as you install the boards. Just another precaution to make sure that the water's not going to get in. And again with our doors, we've got kickers at the bottom, and that'll kick the first board out and it just runs up. Okay, so that's everything installed. The tighter you get these joints around the doors, the better, because again it helps with water penetration. However, the next step after that is to put a architrave around, which will again help to waterproof and make the building watertight. Okay, so on our doors, of course, we need architrave, and again on our windows, same idea. So there we go. That's the preparation required for installing weatherboards.